Well, Kelly, thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be here, and I know you're going to be seeing a very famous baseball player soon, so I hope you can hold your anticipation a little bit to listen to a politician. But Kelly is right. The 19th Congressional District is one of the most beautiful districts, I think, in the country. The Northeast borders Vermont, and the Southwest borders Pennsylvania. It encompasses just a very large area of the Hudson Valley, the Catskills, and central New York, part of the Capital Region. I live in a place called Kinderhook, the home of our 8th president, Martin Van Buren, who was a farmer himself. We also have a site, the Franklin D. Roosevelt homestead at Hyde Park in the district. We have Woodstock, where the concert was supposed to be, and we have Bethel Woods in Sullivan County, where the concert was. And we also have the Baseball Hall of Fame. And as Kelly mentioned, we also have 90% of the New York City west of Hudson watershed. So literally the reservoirs and the aqueducts that feed the water supply to New York City, all gravity fed, by the way, come largely from the 19th Congressional District. So water quality and conservation and good agricultural practices are a vitally important component of keeping our water pure and clean. We also have in the Delaware, with the Delaware River, one of the best cold water trout fisheries in the nation, and it's something that certainly brings tourists from all over the nation. I am, as Kelly mentioned, I'm pleased to be a member of the House Agriculture Committee. I am a freshman on the Agriculture Committee, so I don't necessarily have a lot of power, but I have a vote. And that vote is going to be an important one going forward. My district has truly benefited from the boom in organic farming. Although many farming industries in upstate New York have seen financial hardship, particularly in dairy, the organic production and sales are on the rise. In fact, Kelly and I were talking about the milk that our organic dairy farmers produce. They're getting paid around $37 or $38 a hundredweight for their milk. Conventional milk is right now a little under $18. So you can see that there's a real added value for farmers in this production. And we also have a wide variety of not just dairy, but also grass-fed beef and other meat products, but a lot of vegetables and apples. And we serve the metropolis, the megapolis, if you will, just to our south in New York City. And I can tell you, seeing some of my grass-fed beef farmers selling their strip steaks in the Chelsea market for $30 a pound is quite an inducement and incentive for them. But many of our farmers, organic and otherwise, take their produce and their wares, their cheese and their yogurt, down to New York City each week to the farmers markets down there. And that has helped them sustain their businesses and sustain their farms. Last year in New York State, 82% of households sought organic products to buy. The organic sales nationally in 2016 were over $47 billion. That's an increase of 8.4% or $3.7 billion over 2015. And the overall food market during that same time only grew by 0.6%. More than 60% of all the organic businesses with more than 5 employees reported an increase in full-time employment during 2016. And they tell us they plan to continue to boost employment of their full-time work staff. My district, as I mentioned, has particularly benefited from the farmers markets in New York City and also the local farmers markets. We have in our district 216, it may be more since we only counted this up last week, so it may be more today, but 216 organic operations, including the Hawthorne Valley Farm in Ghent, the Hudson Valley Farms in Highland, Tierra Farm in Valatia, which is just an amazing coffee and nut producer, Breeze Hollow Farms in Hoosick Falls, and Maple Hill Yogurt in Kinderhook, which I mentioned previously. Now, the Farm Bill is under our consideration in the Agriculture Committee. We do this, as you probably know, once every 5 years, and it's up for reauthorization next year. We've already had approximately 13 hearings in the subcommittee and full committee on the 2018 Farm Bill. The titles of importance to organic are Title II, Conservation, Rural Development in Title VI, and Research in Title VII, and Crop Insurance, Title II. And as you can see, these same Farm Bill titles that greatly impact all farmers in agriculture. So there's no reason that there should not be bipartisan support and coordination on issues important to your organic farms. Organic operations face some of the same issues that other farms face and throughout the United States. In my district, the number one issue I hear is the availability of labor and the difficulty of achieving H-2A visas for agricultural workers who come into our community. My wife, incidentally, is a school nurse for 22 years at our local high school, and she will tell you that many of the migrant farm workers and their families, it used to be the children would come in and they'd come to school in the fall, and then come Christmas, they were gone. And then you wouldn't see them again until next year. Now it is more likely, more often than not, the children are staying year-round. And their parents may go to work somewhere else, but they generally are staying in the community and getting an education, which is really important. But the agricultural visas are something that my farmers, whether they're organic or conventional farmers, complain about. Long backlogs in visa processing that are causing delays on their farms. Delays in harvesting or seasonal planting can really destroy a farm and a farm business in that year and hurt their ability to prosper and grow. I am a co-sponsor of a bill that will move the H-2A visa system from the Labor Department to the Agriculture Department, because we think that will be an agency that's a little more conversant and conducive to the interests of agriculture. So there are so many other challenges to being an organic farmer, and not just labor. Some programs that help organic farmers to overcome these challenges include the National Organic Program, the Conservation Stewardship Program, and the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. These programs are particularly important for the organic industry around the nation, and it's imperative that these be maintained. I will have fought for these programs in our appropriations process, and will fight to maintain the funding for these as we go forward. As you know, the President issued his budget. I also serve, besides agriculture and transportation, I serve on the Budget Committee. And the interesting thing in Congress, agriculture and transportation, very bipartisan. Budget, not so much. I just came from a budget hearing with the OMB director, Mick Mulvaney, and there are many things, frankly, in the President's budget that I think there's a bipartisan consensus that we don't agree with, particularly on the 17% of the budget that is the non-defense discretionary budget. They are attempting to get the bulk of their savings, and they're trying to do and I think this is laudable, try to balance the budget over a 10-year period, but they're trying to get the bulk of it from only 17% of the budget. And that's a real problem for a variety of programs that support our communities and also that support agriculture and other community development activities, and also things like water conservation and soil and water conservation programs, and programs that assist rural communities in building the water and sewer infrastructure that they need. So I think you'll see a fairly strong resistance to the President's proposal on the domestic side of the budget. And we have some alternatives that we think can get us to balance or near to balance over the 10-year period without kind of dicing and slicing every single domestic program. Another very important farm bill issue that impacts the organic industry is research. Cornell University, which is not in my district, we do call that, I'm a Republican, we call Cornell, it lives in the People's Republic of Ithaca, and that's a little more difficult for a Republican to run there, but Cornell sponsors, and I think they've been in my office 7 or 8 times already this year about all of their agricultural research and support programs that they have, whether it's in dairy or crop or water and soil. So they do an amazing job with organic farming research and innovations, and they directly benefit from the support they receive in our Farm Bill appropriations. And that is one of the reasons why we've got to really be careful about funding in this as we go forward in the next fiscal year. We cannot afford to simply rest on the success of the past. there's growing concern that the United States' role in agriculture research and development is shrinking. We cannot take a back seat to the rest of the world because that will have long-term negative implications for all of agriculture, including organic. And I realize that the continued pressure, as I mentioned previously, to cut spending, but according to the latest, most recent CBO estimates, the last Farm Bill saved taxpayers $104 billion over 5 years. Agriculture, and Chairman Conaway, I think if he were here, would tell you, has already done its part. The committee's views on the budget and estimates letter, which was released earlier this year, emphasizes that there should be no further cuts from within the Agriculture Committee's jurisdiction, and that includes funding for needed agricultural research. In the kind of very hyper-political and partisan environment we're in, it's important to impress on others that organic farming and organic operations across our nation create jobs and sustainable local economies. And I think that's really a critical thing. If you can have an organic dairy farmer selling his milk or her milk for $38 a hundredweight, you know what? That creates prosperity. That creates the opportunity for their kids to stay on the farm. And that creates a benefit and a spin-off benefit to all the other ancillary industries that live and work and prosper in that community. So the future productivity of our farms would be in jeopardy without the investments that I think are so needed in research and development. So I will continue to fight for funding of programs that are important to organic farmers. I will continue to make my voice heard on the Agriculture Committee. We've already met with your association in our office, and I think it's really important that you're all here because you know what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that's true in business and it's also true in politics. It's really important for you to make sure that your voices are heard, that you reach out to your Democratic and Republican members, that you make sure they understand the importance of organic farming and all of the things that you're doing in processing and food development and research in your communities so that we can build a strong network of support for organic agriculture all across the country. For me, in the 19th Congressional District, it's very easy to support this because I have it all around me. The community I live in, it is just growing leaps and bounds with organic producers. And they and our traditional farmers are the backbone of much of the economy in rural upstate New York. But there are a lot of districts in our state, if you're in Long Island or Westchester, very urbanized or suburban atmosphere, or in the city of New York, for instance, where maybe they're not thinking about this. They don't see and feel agriculture every day like we do in our communities. So it's really important for you to be that squeaky wheel and apply the grease so that we can improve the prospects of the industry, but also reflect the growing consumer demand that there is out there. So I really applaud you for coming to Washington. You picked a very interesting environment that we're in politically in our country's history. Right now, it's nothing like I have ever seen in the time that I've been in office, and I had previously served for 8 terms in the New York State Assembly, but I left the New York State Assembly in 2002, and so I'd been out of office for quite some time, and I've never seen a polarized political environment like the one we have today. So I think it's really important for all of us as Americans to try to find the common ground, to find the common ground where we can agree, be respectful of areas where we don't agree, but areas like what you're promoting, it's like motherhood and apple pie. And I think you'll find that there's a lot of common ground among Democrats and Republicans, liberals and conservatives, because you know what? Our constituents and your consumers are demanding what you're selling. And so that's the important thing for us to emphasize. So it is really a pleasure, Kelly, to be a guest here today. I know you're going to have a much more scintillating and interesting speaker later, and someone who can hit a baseball and catch fly balls a lot better than me. But I can tell you this, we're going to work very hard to make sure that your interests are represented on the Agriculture Committee as we go through this Farm Bill, and I really applaud you for coming here. Thank you so much, and make sure you're the squeaky wheels up on Capitol Hill when you go up and lobby. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you. So I guess we have time for questions. So I guess the outfielder isn't just ready just yet. I'll try to hit a few, lob a few back at you, whatever baseball analogy you want. Yes, sir. Oh, we have a question there. The man with the mic.
Congressman, thank you for joining us. Appreciate your service on the Organic Caucus.
Yes.
My wife and I farm in Montana, a little different than New York, but we have some similar interests. One of the biggest factors that discourages conversion to organic and disincentivizes being organic is the way crop insurance is currently administered. And I just wonder, looking at the Farm Bill, if you have thoughts on how we can remove those disincentives. Crop insurance is really good if you grow commodity crops and not so good if you grow specialty crops. So just like to hear your thoughts on that. I think it's a place where funds can be saved and do good at the same time. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a number of us would like to enhance opportunities for specialty crops to get crop insurance. I think one of the things that you should try to do is work with the entities that are selling that crop insurance and try to enlist them also in the efforts to make these programs available for those specialty crops. I think that would be a critical thing. But it's something on our radar, and it's something that I would like to see accomplished in this next Farm Bill. Yes, sir.
You do come from a beautiful district. And,
where are you from, sir?
Gainesville, Florida.
Okay.
So, you mentioned growers, both small and large, up in your district, and going to New York City for markets. Certainly, they've taken advantage of the Finney program, Farmers Market Promotion Program opportunities. You didn't mention those. They're not organic specific, but they are important to many organic farmers that are doing direct marketing. And so, just making sure that you're aware that FMPP and Finney,
Yes.
the Food Insecurity Nutrition Incentive Program, have been a bonus for any fresh produce direct farmer. And then also the Organic Certification Cost Share Program that's always has a target on its back. And this one, I believe, the intent is to zero it out, and
Yep.
that one enables many of those small direct farmers that are selling direct organic farmers to maintain their certification. And then the last,
And that's one again that I had asked the Appropriations Committee, along with others, to make sure we fund.
good, thank you. And then the last one is you talked about moving H2A from labor to agriculture, but I hope that you would be open to improving the H2A program for the workers as well. That program isn't it may be highly coveted by growers because everybody needs labor, but it could be improved for the sake of the workers as well.
Okay. Thank you. It's always risky to speak to an audience when they're going to get lunch, so I very much appreciate the opportunity to come by and wish you all well in your lobbying endeavors, and go out there and be those squeaky wheels. Thanks so much.